All right. How's everyone going today? Today, we're talking about how to find opportunities for government contracts that do not involve Sam.gov. All right. So, how do we find those opportunities? And there we go. Mike, and why is my screen not being shared? All right. So once again, today we are going to go over how to find opportunities for government contracts that do not involve Sam.gov. So most people are hardwired into looking into whether it's Sam.gov or some of the other search engines that are centered around and pulling data from a Sam.gov or FPDS or USA Spending and all that. But I'm going to show you now how I find them without using SAM. And this is a very important part of the government contracting process. People that are doing this as a profession know to do this. And if you've been in it for a while, this may just be a good refresher for you. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. I just did that with a Southern accent that my wife would not be happy about because she's from Tennessee. And I am from Boston, although I don't know if anyone can tell that I'm from Boston anymore. I feel like I lost part of my accent through my years in the military. So, all right, we're going to screen sharing here now. Now, the first thing that we are going to look at now, again, theme for today, we're not using Sam.gov, okay? And I should probably take my nameplate off of there too, because I feel like that's getting in the way. All right, here we go. This is the first place I'm going. It's acquisitions.gov, all right? I've got, and by the way, just a tip, I keep bookmarks of all of there's so many different websites, guys, that you can go to search for opportunities. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that our core philosophy is we need to find these opportunities for government contracts as early as possible. I need to know about these as far ahead of the solicitation as I can possibly find them. So I have enough time to develop a relationship with people in the government that are actually involved with putting contracts together. So who has the authority to put a company on contract in the government to commit funds on behalf of the government? That's a contracting officer. Who's going to manage that? Who manages it before it even gets to them? That's the program manager, typically. And there's a bunch of other people in there, but these are the people that I'm targeting, right? All right, so acquisitions.gov, what am I going to find here? Well, what I'm going to find here are acquisitions forecasts. And acquisitions forecasts, every agency is supposed to forecast what they're going to be buying. This is in the government contracting space where there is a lot of obstacle and complication in our way. There are a few things that make this easier for us, right? And so we have to double down on that. And what we're doubling down on is that the data for these contracts is available to us. And we have to double down on the fact that the government also will tell us what they're going to spend on. Right now, every agency is not the same. Some agencies do a great job of forecasting. Some agencies are very lackadaisical. So I could look at some of these acquisitions forecasts and I could see that they're outdated, but some of them are going to be right on. So this is a really good way to start building out our pipeline. And remember, government contracting is the long game, right? So we want to build out, my pipeline is not 6 months to a year. My pipeline is going to go out a minimum of 3 years, okay? And it could go longer than that. Someone told me some of the big defense contractors have a 100-year plan. I don't know if that's true or if that's just talking, but I have at least a 3-year plan, and so should you. So what do we get to here? Now, I clicked through some of these, but we're going to do a lot of this in real time. This has given us the different agencies. If you click on these, again, this is acquisitions.gov. If you click on these, you're just going to get the agency website. So that's not where you want to click. What you want to do is you want to go to the agency procurement forecast. Now, I clicked on the DoD one. And when you get to the DoD one, I've had mixed experience here, right? You could see with the Air Force, there's not a heck of a lot down there, right? The Navy and the Army have a few things listed. I actually typically like how the Army Corps of Engineers puts their acquisitions forecasts out. And one of them, then this is an acquisition, this is the PEO. So this, if you click on under Army, PEO, enterprise information systems. So that's going to be a general or a GS or SES, most likely, that has the moniker PEO, and they're going to be in charge of a bunch of efforts, acquisitions efforts. If I go here, so this is interesting because you never know what you're going to get, but this is where some of the gold is found, right? A lot of people don't want to do the work of digging, but here in PEO Enterprise for Army, it says here are some business opportunities. Now, what's available here? Slides, video, attendee list. Why does this matter to us, right? I get so many questions on, hey, how do we form subcontracting and teaming opportunities, right? Well, right here with the attendee list, now we're going to get a list of the attendees. So this was for some type of industry day. So, we're getting, I'm not going to give you everyone, but they're giving you the list of all the companies, all the people, and their email addresses that attended these events. I'll let you go to that. I'm not going to put any of that out there. That's for you to go get if it makes sense for you. But, how valuable is that, right? You may have seen that DSBS, if you use the dynamic small business search on SBA, I believe they're getting rid of that. I've seen some LinkedIn posts about it, and they're replacing that with a beta system, right? Where you can look up different companies. That's great. I might even go over that while we're on the call today, but much more specifically, I can find the companies that are already looking at certain efforts by going to some of these sites. Now, what about the slides? There's a video. So you can go in here and watch the video. They actually posted it. Here are some slides. And I haven't looked at these slides. All right. So we're doing this in real time. So what is this industry day about? Managing Army's human capital innovation. This is the type of thing where you're going to click into it and start researching if this makes sense for the business that you work for, or if it's your business. So here's a colonel who's a program manager, like I was. By the way, I'm Rick Howard. I'm a former government acquisitions officer. I was a program manager for the Air Force, not the Army. So now he's listing opportunities for innovation, industry innovation. And by the way, so a lot of these industry days, a lot of events like AFCEA puts on are great, because if AFCEA puts on an event that's centered around an acquisitions base, what they're often going to do, they did it for me when I was in the Air Force, is they're going to bring out the PEO and the division chiefs, and they're going to talk about all of the different opportunities they're working on and when the solicitations are coming out and the program managers you need to reach out to. And so if you fall into the bucket of, oh, that's a year out, I don't want to waste my time on that, then get out of government contracting, because it's not the place for you. This is the long game. It's not the short game. There's no short wins. I just got an email from someone who, and this is actually a student in my GovClose program. So they're working with their first client. And this client is in the game, and they're like, we sent 80 to 90 proposals out and they're not responding to us. Of course they're not responding to you. You need to do the work ahead of time, right? You can't just send out 80 to 90 proposals and you just see an RFP and you're just going to send them out. Of course they're not responding. And by the way, I don't even think they confirmed receipt. So I would say a lot of those the government didn't even get. So that's just a tip. If you send a proposal or source to sought to the government and you don't get a, hey, I've got it, thanks for submitting, from the government, then assume they didn't get it. So always write confirm receipt and then call them if they don't have it. An attachment can block the email from the government. That's the real point there. Okay, look, what are they doing? They're giving you the contract office information. They're giving you the industry days, the Q&A, open solicitation. So they're talking about all these things that are coming up here. What each of these product managers and program managers is working on. This is this is the research that you guys need to do. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole slide deck. I'm just showing you that it's there and that's one place, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Okay. This is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And I don't know what I'm doing with my website here. How do I find business opportunities, right? So again, so now Army Corps of Engineers, who is this going to apply to? If you're in construction, anything to do with construction, right? Army Corps of Engineers, like construction, building construction, bridges, stuff like that. This is probably where you want to go. Now, and there's multiple Army Corps of Engineers small business offices. So it looks like what acquisitions.gov or whatever the website was, what was it? for the acquisitions forecasts. Yeah, acquisition.gov. It looks like it's sending us to some of these small business sites. So what do I want to do when I'm on here? Let's see. Well, it's giving me some of the, let's see. This is saying that their forecast has been removed pending review. Okay. Not surprising, by the way, like with Doge and everything else that's going on, um, that there's some review of what the government's putting out there. It's probably under review because they're wondering if they're still going to spend that money on it. We're spending more money next year, as far as I'm aware right now, than this year, even with all of the scrutiny. And that's a good thing to think about, especially in Department of Defense. Think about everything that's going on, right? Let's see. This one says Milcon upcoming opportunities. Now, I wonder here, it says that the Army Corps of Engineer forecasted opportunities is under review and was removed. Okay, and it's saying the same thing here. All right, that's fine. Let's go back. Okay, I wonder if the Army Corps of Engineer opportunities were removed because it's giving me two websites. It's giving me Army Corps of Engineers Military Construction and Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville District. And for anybody that's just tuning in, what we're talking about here is how to find opportunities beyond Sam.gov. By the way, I'm gonna throw a quick test in the comments just to see if that's working. Feel free to ask your questions as you're going along here. Let's see what the Naval Warfare Center, if they're posting anything. Okay. So again, this is small business focused. This is NavAir, their office here. It's giving you an email that you can contact. So if NavAir is someone you're selling to, you got to do the research, guys, right? When you're doing this. So you want to know who you're trying to sell to. But here it talks about the long range forecast. And when I click that, look at this. What do we got here? We got a spreadsheet. And what are they telling us here? Right? How great is it that they're actually going to forecast what they're spending on? So now you can go to a website like this and start adding things to your pipeline if they make sense. Remember, we need to find them ahead of time, right? We're trying to find all these opportunities before they're posted as a solicitation to give us time to coordinate with the government, learn more about it. We don't want to waste their time and you don't want to waste your time, right? It's giving us a requirement title. This one's about bombs. This one's about research, test, and development. That's also a certain type of money in the government. Activity supporting live fire test. So a lot of this is weapons related. Again, so some of this may make sense for some businesses and not for others. But now we got anticipated value. So that's important, right? We went yesterday, if you were on my live call, we talked about the pipeline, and I showed you GovClose and how we walk each of these opportunities through like 20 different steps, right? Because there are so many different steps. This is giving us a range. Granted, some of these ranges are really big of what the total value could be. So this gives us a little bit of a starting point. And in the beginning of my pipeline, I usually estimate small. And then as I get closer to contract, as I build my P-win or my potential for winning the contract through relationships, engaging with the government, going to industry day, all of that stuff, then I increase the price of my opportunity to something that is going to be more realistic. And by the way, this is a big range. By the time I get to, if they drop a source of SOT, if I meet with them, I should have a better idea of what that cost is actually going to be for my company, ballpark. Look, they're telling us what the anticipated procurement method is going to be, right? Telling us anticipated contract type. So they're saying small business set aside, cost reimbursement. What's the procurement instrument? This is really important, right? We talked yesterday about contract vehicles and category management, something called category management. And category management is basically talking about contract vehicles like NASA SOUP, and I throw GSA into that, but basically any type of contract that you have to compete to be on, right? Or you have to apply to be on. And the key is it takes a long time to get onto these vehicles, right? So if this was dropping now, right, and it's going to be on Seaport. Seaport's the name of a contract vehicle, meaning a solicitation came out at some point and said, hey, this is a seaport contract vehicle, companies that can do X, Y, and Z. You can propose in 30 days, 60 days later, all the proposals are due, maybe. And then maybe hundreds of companies apply. And then after, and I'm making these numbers up, but then 60, 90 days, 4 months later, however long it takes to review everybody's, pricing and offer, then maybe 100 companies get added to Seaport, or 50. And so now you're on that contract. And what does that mean? Well, now it means the government can buy from you using that contract, but it doesn't mean you've won anything. So here's the problem. If I'm seeing this, if this comes out, this opportunity could be perfect for the company you're working with, for you. It comes out, but it's going to be on Seaport. Well, then you can't, if you don't have Seaport, you're out. Can't even put a proposal in on it unless you subcontract and team with a company that has Seaport. Follow me? Just telling us anticipated solicitation, fiscal year 25, quarter 2. So quarter 2 is in the past, right? We're in fiscal year 25. The fiscal year starts October 1st. And so what? October, November, December, that's quarter 1. January, February, March, January, February. Yeah. So quarter 2 has already passed. And the question is, did the solicitation come out? I wouldn't be surprised if there was a delay, because with the new presidential turnover, essentially, for this year, we saw a lot of scrutiny on government spending, and a lot of reduction in workforce. So possible, I don't know, that this was delayed. I'd have to check that if I was interested. Quarter 4 is when they're saying it's going to be awarded, right? So talking July, that's starting next month, is quarter 4. There's an incumbent. This is where it's going to happen. They're giving you the contracting POC name, but not the email address. A lot of these give the email address. Okay. And I would just tell you, don't spam your government contracting officers, right? They don't need your spam. But if there's a source of thought that comes out, you can monitor for that. If you have questions, reach out to them if you're really a good fit for that opportunity. But look, there's a lot on here. So there's a ton of stuff. So you can look through these type of spreadsheets that the government makes available to you and see if they're right for you. So how often should you be reviewing these acquisitions forecasts? If I'm being honest, I probably only do it once a month or so for my pipeline, but I do it because there can be changes. And remember, with an acquisitions forecast, this is going to be a long-term lead, right? With kind of that low P win in the beginning, but something you can monitor and build that relationship, keep it in your crosshairs. So for when it actually does start coming out and the paperwork drops, you can do something about it. By the way, there's another aspect to that spreadsheet. There were a lot of sole source. There was a column there that talked about how they were going to award. So we saw a lot of incumbents and a lot of sole source. So what does that mean? For me, honestly, it probably means something I'm not even going to be looking at, because I don't want to waste my time. But I do want to know what kind of sole source contract they have planning on coming out. An interesting thing you could do if you're an 8A, if any of those contracts are 8A sole source, right? Where was I looking here? Right, I was looking right here. So, right, here we go, sole source, right? Meaning there's probably an incumbent, and it's going to list the incumbent over there. If I think one of these is an 8A sole source, I might check to see when that company actually graduates from the 8A program, because if the government thinks they're going to do another sole source and they're going to use 8A to justify it, and that company has graduated from the 8A program, you better believe I'm going to reach out now to the contracting officer and let them know that they graduated, but my company's 8A, and we can do the same thing. So that's just a little tip for the 8As out there. When you go through this type of thing, there's going to be lots of variation in how they present information to you. If I go to the Office of Naval Research, by the way, each one of these centers and commands focus on different things, right? You can see there's a supply system command, there's a naval research command, strategic systems programs, right? So depending on what you're selling, this may dictate where you actually want to focus. I'm going to look at one more here just to see let's go to the supply systems. something a little bit different. Let's see, this one's not giving me anything, but it is giving me, let's see, the page you're looking for is moved to a new location. By the way, like, don't give up. These links, who knows when the last time some of these have been updated, but within each agency, there's going to be multiple divisions and centers. Like, you're learning about the agency you're trying to sell to. And there's going to be a lot of gold in here for small businesses, for sales executives, as far as how they make purchases. Now, look right up at the top here, even though this has taken me to kind of the nav supply systems command main webpage, what's right up here? Business opportunities. So I'm going to click on that. See what I'm doing here. So, by the way, some other things I'm looking for. I'm not just looking for a forecast of opportunities. If I'm a small business, I'm looking for any events that I could go to. I'm looking for, can I set up a business meeting? There's going to be different ways of engaging with the agency that you're trying to sell to. Okay, so I clicked on the business opportunities. And so here's some of the things that are listed. Okay, so it looks like, this looks like it might be, click on the find the connect nav subs. I'm not sure if they're trying to connect this to DSBS, which is, I mentioned earlier, changing. They have a beta test system coming out, some great content on that. Here's one, you can become a vendor, right? So remember, this is like a supply logistics part of the Navy. Oh, look at that. It's an Oracle website, and there's an error. Like I told you, sometimes you just got to click through this stuff and do some investigating on your own. I just clicked it again, bang. Okay. So I had to click on it twice to make sure that came up. So for those of you that have just popped on here, we're looking at ways to find government contract opportunities that are not listed on Sam.gov, or at least yet. And so I'm looking at acquisitions forecasts. And so there's some research here. This is why account executives for companies selling to the public sector, to federal agencies, that's why they get paid so much, because there is actually a ton of work to do here, and it is a very long cycle, right? So it could be 18 months, 2 years before I see the fruition of this research, but this is how I help build out my pipeline. If I was a vendor, this is letting you register as a vendor. I didn't even know that was there, right? There's so many different parts to government contracting. It's really, I mean, I geek out on a lot of this stuff, but this is how you find out about it, right? Okay. Do I want to learn more about this? I don't know, maybe. So let's see here. It's given you the small business strategy. So if my business was involved with this type of thing, supplies that they buy, and I would have done the research on that first, I would be all over this page to see how I could work with them. It's saying that here, click here to see products and services. So this is what they're probably buying. We execute our mission along 3 main business lines: weapon system support, global. So yeah, so they're telling you what's involved here. Maybe if you're still researching who you should be selling to, like, how great are these resources for you to be able to go in here? So I could click on any of them. Foreign military sales, which I have a soft spot in my heart for foreign military sales. I lived out in Saudi Arabia for a year, worked for the Air Force, U.S. Air Force. So I ran the foreign military sales for Saudi Arabia and had a nice office in their Ministry of Defense, and of course on our military compound. Okay, so they're giving you some contact information there. This is all really important stuff. And if you were on earlier, you would have seen there's also places where we're downloading spreadsheets that actually have the exact opportunity, how much each thing is worth. Now, I haven't seen each opportunity's worth, the contact in some cases. I haven't seen that here yet. Let's see. Boat nav sub, what they buy, doing business with nav sub. Is that going to take me to a different? No, this is going to give me the vendor form. Okay, but still good to know. I don't need that anymore. Why don't we try a different agency, see what pops up? I'm not going to pick the Department of Education because I don't even know if that exists anymore. DOE, I do love the DOE. I've sold a lot of software to the Department of Energy over the years. If anyone wants me to look at something specific, just let me know in the comments. All right, Department of Energy, what are we looking at here? They're going to make me look for it. Like I said, sometimes you're going to click on a link that the government puts out for an acquisitions forecast, and you are going to get just the public-facing website. In fact, did I click the public-facing website, or did I click? I did. I did exactly what I told you not to do. I clicked this instead of the agency procurement forecast. Let's see if they loaded it. All right, good. So this is the acquisition forecast for the Department of Energy. What do we got here? And it says right here, this contains a full list of upcoming contract and subcontracting opportunities to help make it easier for small businesses to search through the DoD's complex, through the department's complex procurement environment. Every agency does have its peccadillos. My wife doesn't like it when I use that word, but they do. They have their own acronyms. They have their own ways of doing business. But I will say this, the one commonality that all of the federal agencies have is they all fall under the Federal Acquisitions Regulations. Okay, so the FAR, the way they have to buy, has got to be consistent and legal, right, according to the FAR. So that's what makes it, when we're trying to learn how to sell to, say, the government, some people are like, hey, I want to focus on just state. I'm like, that's great, but states don't fall under the FAR. And every state is different from each other. And in fact, every town and municipality, they have different acquisition systems. So if you're going to learn a process, the most money is going to be in federal, and the process is going to be the same for the federal agencies. Just you have to understand how their policies might drive you to a different website, might use different acronyms, but you want to learn your agency. Okay, that's enough of a rabbit trail. What do we got here? DOE headquarters. We got their construction opportunities. Oh, cool. And then they're going to break them down by the labs, right? So, and that's how Department of Energy will break down, like Los Alamos, you probably all heard of, Lawrence Livermore. Let's check out Lawrence Livermore. Was that going to give me anything? Okay. So this looks like I can fill out my prospective supplier information, kind of like the Navy, right? How many of you even knew this existed and was there? By the way, Los Alamos has their own procurement system. So when I was selling to them, I also had to register in their procurement system and submit bids through that, which is interesting. Let's check out construction opportunities in Department of Energy, see if they have anything listed. Okay, it's going to make me download the spreadsheet. Cool. So guys, this is something, by the way, oh, you guys aren't seeing my screen anymore. Not the right one. Hold on. Let me see if I can change that up. I'm going to have to change my screen so you can see the spreadsheet that just pulled up here. Share screen. Yeah, personally, I like the spreadsheets that I can download. I feel like this is just the most actionable information that I can take when I'm looking up different contract opportunities, because it's giving me, there's specific opportunities, and usually I have contact information. So there's a lot here. So look at this. It's giving me, I know you guys can't see that. It's giving me the acquisition site. It's giving me the title. So new entrance portal. Again, this is construction, but they have these spreadsheets for different things. So you just to figure out what you're selling, who you're selling to, and then go aim and look at the acquisitions forecast. When is the acquisition date? You can see here, FY26, FY25. For FY25, again, what I would be thinking about is, are any of these delayed with Doge and everything else going on? Are we still looking at FY25? Have they moved to FY26? So if you see something that looks on one of these spreadsheets, like if I see Q1 FY25, which is in the past, I still want to know, hey, is it still open or is it not? NAICS codes, it's giving you a brief description of the thing that they're purchasing, and that's important. Again, projected dollar value. So, and look, this is a ROM, but it can help you with the value of your pipeline. And we can get into that if you want to. Totally up to you. What else are they showing us? Construction type, showing us acquisition strategy. What they're not giving you here is your contact information. There's other ways to find that, but cool. All right. Now, I'm going to remove that. No, maybe not. Yeah, for some reason with this software, every time I want to switch screens on it, it's going to make me add a new screen. That's all right. All right, we're back. So, Department of Energy contract opportunities. Hopefully this is something you guys are finding useful, but sorting through acquisitions forecasts is very important for a lot of businesses. And if you're consulting in this space, like a lot of the GovClosers are, a lot of people in our program, then you absolutely want to understand how to find an acquisitions forecast and see if there's anything on there that can apply to your business. All right. All right, let's take a look at, so for any of our service disabled vets on the call, I'm always going to look at the VA for those type of opportunities. Why? Because they have language and policy that makes them look at SDVOSBs and veteran-owned small businesses before other businesses, right? So if we look at the spending with the VA, you'll always see a much higher percentage of the contracts awarded to service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. That's where that certification can really earn for you. All right. Did I just do the exact same thing again? I think I did. VA, here's their procurement forecast. So don't make the same mistake that I have here like 3 times. All right, so look, you can sign up for the latest updates from the VA, from the Small Disadvantaged Business Office. If I'm selling to the VA, I'm going to sign up for these updates, absolutely, because I want them. I don't want to have to search for them. And it might be a good way just to not miss something. So again, I usually pick 3 agencies that are my targets that I'm selling to. And then I want to understand which offices in these agencies I'm selling to, because the VA is a big place. Most people in the VA can't buy anything from you. You want to target the actual offices in the VA that are doing the buying. So here we have the Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Acquisition Support. So forecast of contracting opportunities. What is this going to show me? They have a forecasting tool. Then there's Acquisitions Gateway. Oh, this is interesting. So this looks like, I don't know, does the VA own this? Acquisition Gateway? I don't think so. So they're taking you to Acquisitions Gateway to search through upcoming opportunities. So again, estimated contract value, contract type to be determined. But you can get a lot of, here's the period of performance. So you can get a lot of interesting information from these. Now, you see the change date. They're listing here in the bottom right-hand corner. So if this applies to you, that is another place that you can go and look for opportunities. Yeah, it's really vast, the amount of information out there, the different places that we can go to find some of these forecasted opportunities. Again, some of these are going to give you a lot of information. Some of them will be limited, but it is a place you can go besides Sam.gov to really start getting some key insights on things that are going to be happening before a solicitation drops. And it's also going to give you a place to go to potentially schedule calls, register your business with that agency, make yourself visible. you really want to truly understand how the agency you're selling to is buying. And that's a good research tool. It's just going to the website of that agency, go to the small business page, see what they're telling you. GSA, I don't want to go to GSA. I feel like we talk about GSA too much, but they're going to be using GSA a little bit more over the years here. At least that's the forecast. So just be aware that GSA's use may increase depending on what you're selling. And why don't we go to one that I don't go to almost ever, is Department of Transportation. Oh, this is interesting. So this, let's see. So you can search through what the Department of Transportation is going to be doing. Well, let's see what comes up here. Okay, so I can search by set aside. I can search by. Oh, why don't we see if there's any 8A opportunities coming out? And I just want to see what pops up here. Anything? I don't see anything. Let's go for fiscal year 26. And we'll go 700,000 to 2 million. Yeah, see, I'm not getting anything here. So this might not be a great, but I can download the CSV file. You see that? And here we go. Just like before, these Excel files have a tremendous amount of information sometimes. So I would imagine if I do download this, then I'm going to get, the name of the opportunity, maybe an estimate on the price of the opportunity, when it's going to be awarded, possibly a name and email address of the government procurement officer that I need to be talking to. And now I need a drink of water. Remember, we started this. Okay, this is exporting. I'm not going to stay on here too long, but we started this on acquisitions.gov to get these acquisitions forecasts. And we've been going through the different agency pages here from the VA, Department of Energy, and looking at, in some cases, a downloadable acquisitions forecast, in some cases, places on the website that we can register our business, ways to set up meetings with the government. All of these designed to find out about opportunities as far ahead as possible. I don't know how long this is going to take from the solicitation. Okay, so look, Department of Transportation procurement opportunity forecast, TBD, as to how useful this is. I don't really know. So far, I didn't see much. I'm going to try one more, to be determined. Yeah, nothing seems to really be popping up there. So I'm going to call that a bust for now. Possible that it works and it's just being slow, like a lot of these government systems tend to be. Let's see. I don't know what you guys want to look at here, but let's look at Department of Treasury. What do they got going on? The dynamic forecast. So this is concerning to me. This just makes me think that it's linked to Sam.gov, frankly, and that it's just going to spit out a bunch of Sam.gov nonsense, which is it's not nonsense, but we're looking for acquisitions forecasts that aren't Sam.gov yet. That's the real thing we're looking for. And then, like I've told you, so we've already found that, by the way, right? We found it with the Navy, and I could probably find it with any of these if we dig deep enough. So this is Department of Justice. Did I even click on the right thing? I'm so guilty of, yeah. So I can register my business with Department of Justice. This seems pretty standard with these acquisitions forecast websites. For those of you just joining us, we're finding opportunities to win government contracts before any solicitation is released on Sam.gov. Usually, by the way, the way I start this is I do a roadmap, a federal sales roadmap for my company or the company I'm working with. So I know exactly which agency is buying what they sell, who I want to target, who's more likely to buy from them. Once I've done that information, now I can target an agency and really dig in deep to how that agency buys things. Like the Air Force, for instance, has several PEOs. They have several places that run acquisitions that I want potentially to have forecasts for. I want to know which ones apply to me specifically. So here I can register. We have a getting started. Again, if I'm selling to the DOJ, I'm going to read through all of this. Finding contract opportunities. Okay, so they have a new Department of Justice forecast dashboard identifying planned procurements for FY24 and beyond. So here's my question now. FY24 and beyond, are they actually updating it, right? Or am I going to just see a bunch of FY24 related opportunities there? The information provided in the dashboard is for planning purposes only. Okay, we know. Okay, and then of course they're pushing Sam.gov right there. Well, let's take a look at this contract opportunities dashboard. Okay, so you can either download the Excel files here, or you can go to the dashboard. See if this works better than the Department of Transportation. So this is, it looks like a big picture breakdown. View the table, forecasted contracting opportunities. This makes me think that, okay, fiscal year 25, 798 contracts. It says right click to drill through. And then down here, so it looks like the DOJ is broken down into different bureaus. It's going to show you where contract opportunities are there. But this is interesting. So it looks like I can sort through them over here as well. And so depending on what type of business you are, award types, small business approach, let's look at 8A. Okay, so not a lot. So I guess if I'm an 8A business, by the way, this is the first time I've seen this dashboard. I usually use USA Spending to do my analytics. So this is telling me that 8A, I believe, the Department of Justice has 8 contracts, or total, okay, 11 contracts. I can drill through them here. Now let's look at the list. Yeah, something went wrong. These dashboards don't seem to work as advertised, do they? List of contracts, new format. Okay. We tried that. Interesting. They have a vendor communication plan. They also have a forecast dashboard I can email here. So it's possible I'm doing something wrong. I probably am. But if I want to sell to the DOJ, if my research told me that this is where I should be looking, then I really want to drill down into how they're doing business. So again, and I would email them. So if my company or the company I was representing was selling to the DOJ, I would send them an email. Let's see. I'm going to try this one more time. It doesn't seem to want to. What is this? Yeah, that's just an advertisement for Microsoft. All right, well, we gave that a shot. We had some success with some of these. We have the NASA one as well. Let's go tech. NASA acquisitions forecast. Here's their agency-wide. It was, okay, great. This one was updated April 1st, 2025. Bang. Okay, and this is what we're seeing a lot. And this is what I expect to see historically when I'm doing acquisitions forecast research. I'm looking for the spreadsheet. I feel like it's just the easy way so far, what we've seen. And I've been going in real time through some of these agencies that I don't typically sell to. A lot of them are putting these boards together that they want you to navigate through. And if you're just joining, some of these boards have not been working. In fact, I would say the theme is that they do not. And the ones that have them listed more like this, more like an acquisitions forecast, we do a better job with. Now, what am I looking for? Every company's different, but if my company is selling, okay, see this vacuum chamber. If I was doing vacuum chamber or anything, I would probably do a search for vacuum chamber in here or vacuum and just see what popped up. Because there's not going to be, there might be 1,000 opportunities listed, but only a couple of them are going to apply to my business or the business I'm working with. So here we see that 2 popped up, right? And it's telling us the requirement, the title, kind of like before, our estimated contract value. So 1.1 million to 2 million right here. Is it a new requirement? When is it coming out? Q4. So quarter of solicitation release. So if it hasn't been delayed, then I'm expecting that sometime starting in July. And I also want to know, who am I reaching out to for this? Something you can do, by the way, since we're close, like, hey, Rick, I don't see a point of contact here, which I don't either. Probably an effort to reduce the amount of emails coming in for their already busy workforce. But I might just go to Sam.gov and here, let's try that. And just type that in just to see if anything's coming out. So here, you guys are probably familiar with this at this point, right? Sam.gov, I'm going to search. I'm going to go to contracting. Now I'm just going to do a keyword search here. I just want to see, it's coming out next month, maybe. Nothing. Let's try vacuum chamber. So when you're using keywords, it's always going to be, oh, that took it out of there. There's always going to be testing involved. Let's try searching. That still didn't do anything for me. I want the exact phrase. That can't be right. It's not. It took it out. There's nothing in there for VF6 upgrades. What about, you see what I'm doing here? I'm just drilling down. What about this? Nothing. But what kind of notices am I looking for? So it's possible this has not come out. Was there a source of sought? Can I look for that? Okay. These are the type of things I'm looking at because I want to know, it's forecasted for next quarter. So I want to know, has it already dropped? Is there a solicitation or something that's out there? By the way, like there's a bunch, if I was doing this for a client, I would probably put in 50 more search terms just to see if anything came out. But yeah, a good example of what you're going to find here. So NASA did a good job. And like, what was it? Department of Transportation, who had the really bad dashboard? That's the type of stuff that you're just going to know. So if you focus on an agency, you're going to know, like if you're in the DOT or you're in Department of Justice, you're going to know, hey, they like to use this dashboard and it's a waste of time because it doesn't work. Or, hey, I need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to look at it in a different browser to make it work. By the way, all those things could be true. Like I'm using Safari. And if you guys use Safari, I love Apple, but sometimes it's just not compatible with what I'm looking at. And the government doesn't use Apple products or Macs for the most part. So usually they're on a PC because there's tons and tons of stuff here. Oh, look at this. This fitness center one was canceled. It says awarded and then it says canceled. Wonder if that was in the scrutiny of Doge going through things. 250 million to 500 million. I wonder if they were going to build a fitness center. It says a recompete though. But look at here. It says this is an 8A competed, right? So that's something else you can search for. If you're a small business, right? What if I just search for 8A? Bang. Okay, so now I've got some 8A sole source opportunities here all popping up that I didn't have before. Now, of course, these don't all apply to me. Although if you're a consultant and you help 8A businesses, these could all apply to you, right? What am I looking at? Let's see. Research and development support, front end, back end, line processing of silicone. Well, that's above my pay grade. Custodial and refuse collection services, communication services. See, 20. Oh, yeah. The one that's, oh, that's interesting. The most complicated one's a $251,000 to $500,000 opportunity. I mean, the most complicated one for me to read. But the Ames Development Support Office, I wonder if that's a services contract, $10 to $20 million. It's a recompete. There's probably an incumbent on there. It's not giving you the incumbent. It would be helpful if they did. It would be helpful for you and me if they did, right? Because then we can use that same philosophy that I mentioned, which is look up the company. Like if they're doing an 8A sole source, like here, 8A sole source, 8A sole source. Well, these are new requirements. This one's a recompete. So the recompetes should have incumbents, but I like to look up the incumbent just to see if they've graduated from the 8A program already. Doesn't work every time, but when you hit that office up, the government contract office, and you're like, hey, company X for the ARC custodial and refuse collection, looks like you're doing an 8A sole source. Like, yeah, it's not competed. Well, they graduated from 8A 2 months ago. What are you talking about? So if that office was planning on doing an 8A contract, you might manage to slip in there before anybody else. All right, let's stop looking through all of these spreadsheets. Okay. What I want to look at now are just some other websites that I go to and that you can go to find some of these opportunities. Now, these are acquisitions forecasts. And that's going to be, like I said, I only do it once a month. I probably should do it more. I'm going to now kind of switch to, in some of these I'm basically making my way from acquisitions forecast to other transaction authority. Okay. Some of the websites I'm about to look at now will focus on other transaction authority. Others will not. Let's see here. So clicking through, these are all spreadsheets for those of us just getting in here. We've looked at a lot of contract opportunities with a lot of business, with a lot of agencies where they basically will either give you a spreadsheet of the upcoming forecast or they'll give us a portal to look at. The portals have been kind of bust, but there's a lot of great information on each of the websites for the agencies that you're selling to. Here's one that I look at a lot. This one is Defense Innovation Unit. I have been involved with them from giving them some of my best people when I was still in the Air Force to help start it up to actually once I've retired and was helping companies sell to the government, going there. So getting down selected, briefing at a DIU. It's really a great process. Now here's the thing, there's not a ton of information or not a ton of solicitations that are coming through. That's okay. It's worth going through here and just checking out, seeing if anything's up and coming, right? So are these opportunities here? Submit your solution, DIU for DoD. Let's see, we award scalable contracts. I want to know here's what I wanted. One open solicitation. So this is what I'm talking about. DIU doesn't have, you're not going to have 1,000 things to look at. If your business is innovative tech, I'll go to DIU and I'm just going to take a look at what do they got. This one is modern peer and near peer threats are accelerating the development and deployment of advanced unscrewed systems. Oh, uncrewed systems. man, I don't want to deploy the advanced unscrewed system. So, deployment of advanced uncrewed systems across all domains of warfare. So, I wonder if this is like the new way of talking about drones. And you guys can tell me that if you know. These technologies are reshaping the character of war. That's for sure, right? Look at, by the way, like I've done some posts recently that may look political on the front of them. I don't get political at all in our content, but I absolutely pay attention to what is going on in the world, and so should you if you're in the government contracting space, right? So, because that dictates where the money's going, it does. What's going on with Iran and Israel could dictate where the money's going. What about Ukraine and Russia, right? That's been going on for a little while. Do you think that has anything to do with what we're looking at right here? Ukraine has done an insane amount of uh, damage in this war with drone technology. Drone technology's grown, and it's clearly becoming the forefront of how we're going to be fighting wars in the future. At least it's going to be a major part of it. Okay. So it's something that we have to keep our eye on. And here it looks like they're looking for technologies that that can assist in that. And they're saying specifically democratizing the ability to persist in surveillance. I used to fly surveillance aircraft, so big fan. Precision targeting, electronic disruption. We're talking about the electromagnetic spectrum there, some different waveforms. Low cost mass effects at scale, UXS. So here's what's cool about DIU and some of these new ways of utilizing typically other transaction authority. It's a faster way to settle the government, and you don't have to waste your time doing a 40-page proposal in the beginning to see if they're interested, right? So click here, submit your solution. Now it's going to give you way more information, okay? It's giving you the problem, the phases, yada, yada. You would read through all of this to see if it's, again, something, don't waste your time. But if you're developing something that fits in here, absolutely. Here, I know you can't see that. So you've got the different phases, tech, CAPE. So you're going to go through all of this information. I'm basically scrolling down to the bottom to where it talks about how to submit. This is giving us okay, so remember we talked about other transaction authority, right? If you're not familiar with other transaction authority, I've done a few videos on this now. Other transaction authority relieves some, if not all, of the federal acquisitions regulation bureaucracy that the government has to go through in order to put a company on contract to do something. I believe this was created in the space race days, so we could actually compete against Russia. Because, by the way, like, we're so regulated, the way the government buys, it's been regulated since the beginning of this country. Policies and regulations, it takes so long for the government to do something that they basically said, hey, there's no way we could win the space race against Russia unless we have a way to make purchases that are fast. So the birth of other transaction authority. And recently, this has been growing and growing in popularity, right? Because technology is increasing at such a rapid rate compared to the exact opposite, the length of our acquisitions system, how long it takes to put a company on contract, it is really astronomical. So OTA is a faster way to do this. So this is giving you a overview. You can go check out our videos, by the way, if you want, on other transaction authority. I did one with Chelsea Meggett. I did one, and I'll post that here. There was a Secretary of Defense order essentially that came out saying, hey, the Defense DoD is going to be using OTA a lot more. I know that's a really non-technical way to say that, but they're going to be increasing their use of other transaction authority. And so we need to be aware of that, and we need to use that when we're looking for opportunities, because it's a faster way. And what you're actually, and I'm scrolling through here because I want to give you a video you can watch, but one of the things that you can do, and if you want, we can go through the other transaction authority list, because a lot of consortiums, there's 100 different websites that are going to have these opportunities on there. Let's see here. How I'd teach. Nope, that's not it. All right. Well, I'll find that video and I'll put that in there. Oh, here it is. All right, guys. So just check out the for the comments here. So this is a link to an other transaction authority video that I did with Chelsea, who's great. She does a lot of posting on LinkedIn. She's been focused on OTA for a long time. This is typically how DIU is going to be doing business, and you can read that here. Now, here's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to get to how we actually submit the solicitation. Essentially, what you're going to do with Defense Innovation Unit is typically you can submit either a slide deck or a white paper. And when I did it and got through, it was with a 3-page white paper. It was very direct, very to the point. There was not a lot of, complexity to this like there is with the regular government contract proposal. And they're going to tell you, they're going to respond back, and they're usually very prompt. I think I got a response back in 2 or 3 weeks. Basically said, hey, we're inviting you to present your solution either in person or online to DIU. So we went out to Silicon Valley. We presented our solution to DIU. And in that case, they did choose another company than the one that I was representing. But what also came of that, and this is why relationships are important, and this is why spending a lot of time in this is important. They kind of pulled me aside afterwards and like, hey, one of the reasons we chose you, first, we wanted to see if you could do this, and we think you can, but more importantly, it's perfect for this other opportunity that's coming up. And we wanted to get that brief from you guys and wanted to learn more about it. So, that's the type of thing that you're not going to get just by scrolling through Sam.gov. What are some other websites that you can use? Well, you can go to Vulcan. So this is going to give you some special forces opportunities. I'm not going to log into this, but you go to Vulcan-SOF. SOF stands usually for Special Operations Forces. That's essentially what we're looking at here. But hey, what are different technologies that can solve special operations needs within the Department of Defense? And if it works the same way as it has, that's pretty cool. You can upload your brief, your company technology brief in there, and they will store it. And I remember at one point we did this with a client, and it was like months later where I got a request from them like, hey, you uploaded this 6 months, a year ago. Really interested. Can we hear what are the current updates? So they do look at it, and it could be something that you use to, again, find additional opportunities. So the whole point of this, we're going off of Sam.gov, right? And we are branching off to see where are these opportunities going to be forecasted? How can I work with the government? We used the acquisitions forecasts earlier, the spreadsheets, and different forecasts that were very specific to each agency. Some were great, some weren't. And now we're looking more at other transaction authority. All right. Now, give me someone in the comments, just give me a test, make sure that you can hear me and see if this is working. And if you guys have any questions before I end this, let me know, because it is past 12 right now. The one thing that I do want to show you is if you are interested in other transaction authority, what I do is just go to Google, type in, oh, thanks, Sam, appreciate it, other transaction authority consortiums. All right. And there's going to be a few places here that are going to give you, sorry, I'm guilty of not showing you that screen in Zoom, but there are lists of these consortia that you can click on, and this is gold. If you have any type of innovative technology you're working on, AI, VR, vertical takeoff aircraft, I mean, you name it. And I've gone through some of these before. I'm not sure I looked at the GovCon puts out a great list. You don't have to be a member of GovCon to look at it here. You can see that list is coming up. You can click on any of those. Those are all going to be different company sites, essentially. And then they're going to tell in each one, just like with DIU, only usually there's going to be multiple opportunities for where the government is looking for different solutions. Here's MITRE. MITRE is going to put out a list as well. Again, these consortiums, what they use, or consortia, whatever, typically, not always, but in a lot of cases, there are some that the Department of Defense is going to run, DIU. But there are some where a company is put on contract by the government, and that company is just going to manage all of the opportunities in a certain bucket. And typically, what you got to do as a business is you have to apply to be in these. Usually, sometimes you have to pay like $250, $500 a year, and then you'll have access to the opportunities, and you can apply to them and see. And by the way, like it could be like a 1 or 2 page white paper that gets you access to maybe briefing somebody in person about one of these. Let's see, Joel. I'm new here. I'm in the process of creating a manufacturing business now. Would I be a potential fit for this contract? Joel, which contract were you talking about? Were you talking about because we looked at DIU, we looked at Vulcan, and now I'm on this consortium page. So if you want, let me know. But here's the thing. Sorry, you're saying the project GI. Was that the DIU? It must have been the DIU one, right? Here, let me go back. Let's take a look, Joel, while we have you on here. Oh, DIU, yeah. The beauty here, Joel, of going through DIU is you can tell them. If you think, again, the only way, a manufacturing company, that's a pretty broad statement, right? You need to go into this project GI, this solution, and really look at it and understand, like, are you creating something from scratch, or do you have something that could potentially, that you've been working on, that could fit this bill, right? The barrier to entry for this is so low, Joel, that it might be worth going through it and submitting something just to go through the process, right? Again, writing a 3 to 5 page white paper. Yeah, I mean, if you've been developing it, like I would want to, this is where I would say the difference between, like, if it's just me at my desk saying, I have a drone and robotics manufacturing company and I have never sold it to anyone. I haven't built it, but I could do it. Like, then I don't think you're going to go anywhere, right? But if you've been developing it and you say that you've been developing it, like, hey, what level is it at? So, usually when we're talking about innovative research, especially with the Department of Defense, they talk in technology readiness levels. So I would look that up if you're not familiar with them. Like, hey, what TRL level do you think this robotics solution is at? What problem is it solving? Can it solve? And again, it's so simple to submit something for DIU that I would probably just submit it. I mean, it's not, if this was a 50-page proposal that was going to take you 2 weeks to write, I would say, probably not, unless you call the office and get an idea of, if this is something that they really would be interested in. But in this case, I mean, look, you could probably write that white paper in a couple of hours. It might even help you get clarification on what you're doing with your drone business. So I'd send it in there. And you'll get feedback too. You could always ask them, hey, like, what are you looking for? They may come back and say, look, you're just not far enough along for us to take a look at it, but they might surprise you too. And they might say, hey, this is something that, we're really looking for and we're really interested in. So in worst case scenario, you got a little experience submitting a proposal for something like this, and you can get feedback from the office and have an idea of where you stand. So especially with OTA, I would say, yes, go ahead and submit. This is another OT consortia. No, I got this one off the MIT website, so I'm just not sure if this is run by a government organization or not. This one's U.S. Army Combat Capability Development Command. So that's the management entity. This is the Cornerstone Consortium, and their focus areas. I don't know what their focus areas are. There's a plus here. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Is there robotics here? Because then, Joel, you'd be able to potentially look at this too. This looks like they're looking at everything. Shipbuilding, aircraft, advanced, I mean, robotics could fit under a lot of these actually. So remember that too. This doesn't just have to say robotics, Joel. This could say, under electronics, robotics could fit under advanced tech and manufacturing, right? So if I have robotics that work in munitions and missiles, then I might be able to submit something here. It tells you who can join: traditional and non-traditional defense contractors, small businesses, private equity firms. No cost. That's great. Current opportunities. Let's see. All right, here are their sectors. And here's some opportunities right here. One's for volcano, obsolescence, commercial scale. I always think, so I'm just using Joel. I'm going to keep using you as an example here because um, if I work with a client and I'm looking through something like this is where it starts for me. And I want to know, hey, is there anything in here, first of all, that my client's technology could resonate with? And then what are they actually, because these sectors, these are really broad. This is so broad you could drive a truck through it, right? When I get down to the bottom here, now these are the real opportunities. Volcano obsolescence. I don't know what SAM.gov stands for, but so this is where I'm really going to see, does any of that make sense for me to engage on? Here's another one, countering weapons of mass destruction. Is there a place for robots there? Absolutely, right? Like any weapons of mass destruction, or any place that we could send a robot in instead of a human being. Absolutely. Now, I don't know. Let's see. It's giving you some focus areas here: sensor, sonar, cargo, chemical detection, stop attacks before they occur, gain situational awareness, understand the actions of adversaries. It's telling you who can join. Now, this one has a $250 membership fee. Okay. Pretty standard. Oh, yeah, no problems. Current opportunities. This is one that I always check on when I'm looking through consortium OTA opportunities. Why? Because I've joined these before, and I joined one and I spent money to be in it. And then all of a sudden there were no opportunities. So you don't want to be in that position, right? Let's see here. Yeah, and you can see here, there, I'm gonna hide the contacts. Well, I thought I was gonna hide the contacts. What I like about this, I do like that they give you someone to reach out to. So those are over here, the requirements office. So now with these, it's telling you what the tentative release, the description, and it's giving the contact. What's great about them giving you the contact is you could just reach out, just send them an email. Hey, does this make sense for me? Like, try to get a sense of them. If if you're wasting your time or not, you'll be surprised. Just like reaching out and talking to people, this gets lost so often, where there's actually a human being on the other side of this government solicitation, one that is probably overworked and is looking for companies that are being helpful, right? So don't spam them with a bunch of sales stuff. Just like say, hey, look, this is what my company does. Is this a waste of my time? Does this make sense? Or should I be looking at something else? And they, a lot of these people will tell you. So you just got to ask the question, just reach out to them, right? Like but what you don't do is you don't get in front of them. I don't even know how many companies would try to get in front of me that had no idea what my office did. And they're like telling me about their janitorial services. And I'm like, dude, I'm building ISR weapons of the future. I'm not hiring janitorial service companies. But they didn't know. They were spamming, just like, a lot of people do with B2B. So it's synthetic bind. By the way, oh, look at that. If Joel's still on, I don't know if he is. So CBRN, that's usually chemical, biological, radio. I don't remember what the RNN stands for. It's been a while since my military training, but CBRN sensor on robotic platforms. It's probably the sensor they're looking for, but you might be able to, contribute with the robotic platforms, right? And so again, think outside of the box here. If you have a technology, you want to think, how does that technology apply to different areas? And a good example of this, especially with new technologies, is, and I've used this before, but with augmented reality, right? That is a new technology that doesn't have an NAICS code. It doesn't have a product service code. So when I'm looking, I might go into I might go into Sam.gov and look for a source of SOT on augmented reality and not see anything, or maybe see one thing every week or two. But I know that augmented reality can be used for training, right? So I might go, all right, let's look at training opportunities. And as long as I'm finding them before the solicitation in the source of SOT phase, or maybe like in today's session, we looked at acquisitions forecasts, I might have the opportunity now to insert that into a requirement that's already funded. So it could be training for air crew, or training for ground maintenance personnel that are working on, you pick it, aircraft, engines, whatever. I could potentially call the program manager and say, hey, look, we do augmented reality training solution. Is this something that we could insert into the requirement? Or is this, am I wasting my time? And they might say, no, go ahead. Or they might say, yeah, we're not looking for that. That doesn't make sense on this one. Okay, do you know anyone that would be? And they might point you in the right direction. Now you got a warm lead, right? So what I was going to do here, Josh, I was just going to type in robot, or Joel rather. Yeah. Okay. So it's showing me two different things, right? It's showing me, let's see, this autonomous decontamination system. And why did it pop up when I put robot in there? Semi-autonomous supported capability that relies on a precision detection capability, modernized decontaminants, and robotics to allow a chemical, biological. This is another way, especially Joel, since you are in the startup phase, right? You started a manufacturing company. You said you're in the prototyping phase. This is what a lot of companies get wrong, both selling to the government and elsewhere, is they'll start building something. And I'm not saying you're doing this, Joel, but a lot of companies will start building something thinking it's a solution without verifying it. Okay. This is a way we can see what the government's looking for. What are they looking for? Hey, they are looking for this robotics to allow chem bio decon squad to provide thorough decontamination on mission. So that's maybe a robotics angle that you haven't thought of before. This one's looking for integration of payloads. Unmanned, I guess, means robotics, right? To a certain extent. Integration of sensor data into the autonomous. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. So again, these are the types of, and I'm losing my voice, so I think it's time for me to get off of here. But these are the types of things that I'm doing and looking at. There's no shortage, guys, of these type of, let me get that off of there. No shortage of these type of websites. We could be on here for the next 20 hours. And I bet I could just be going through opportunity after opportunity. The key is understand, is the government buying what you sell? What agencies buy what you sell, and focus there, right? So we don't want to I've been looking at everything just because, a variety of people with a variety of interests are on these live sessions and watch them afterwards. But for you, don't look at Department of Transportation if they don't buy robotics, right? So we want to know, by the way, like Joel, for anybody that's developing stuff like this, I'm other transaction authority and CIBR all day, every day. All day, every day. That's good because it's designed for a company like yours. You're a small business, innovative technology. You just want to be able to do the right things to get in there. CIBR is really competitive. Other transaction authority, I think we're going to see more and more spending here. And I don't think a lot of people are even aware that these opportunities are out there. So we have other videos if you're looking at CIBR or STTR that you guys can, yep, that's right, SPAR, STTR. By the way, so just speaking to that, my experience there is that STTR is, you're much more likely to win an STTR award than a CIBR award. And that is because most companies don't want to partner, right? So, because what you're doing is you're partnering with a nonprofit, like a university. I mean, there's plenty of these places to partner with. By the way, they could even help you. A lot of them have grant writers and stuff. A CIBR is not STTR, these aren't grants, these are contracts. That's a popular misconception. But the grant writers are good at it. They might have people that can help you, but you'll have less competition is really what I'm getting at if you are going after an STTR instead of an SBIR. Of course, anybody that wants more training, they can always go to GovClose. This is our website. We have a training platform. It's not even a training platform. This is a 1-year in-depth implementation program. So this is where people are coming in. It's a mixture of on-demand training, how to sell to the government. It's very, very specific. This is just how this is not a course on legal documents and the FAR. You have to be aware of the FAR and know it exists, but this is how do I sell to the government? How do I help another company sell to the government? How do I help my company sell to the government? And then how do I build a business off of this? So how do I bring the revenue in? So I certify everybody. They have to go in and build a very precise sales roadmap. They have to go in and they have to build a pipeline on their, just based on either their company or a notional company they're working for, leads coming in before the solicitation, and then the advanced strategies that we teach. They get certified, and then it's implementation. So we're helping them build their business. So if you're looking for literally one-on-one, I import everybody myself. We work in a community. We have about 200 people in the program right now. They're doing amazing things, everything from selling to the government with their businesses. We've got veterans, federal workers, professionals going and getting multiple six-figure jobs in some cases, selling to the government for other companies. And then most of them, almost all of them, have started their own consulting businesses on the side to bring in extra revenue, and they're bringing in clients and doing really great things. So if you're interested, you can check that out. That's my sales pitch, but we're going to try to do more of these live sessions. So hopefully this has been valuable for everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
After going through the course, I was able to land a client that pays me a monthly retainer to actually help them develop their business and go after these federal contracts.
I was able to get a consulting gig with a software company that currently works with the intelligence community.
Within 2 months, I had my first client. So the initial contract was for a 3-month contract for $4,000 a month.
So 27 years old, you've never worked in government contracting, you've never worked as a consultant, and you just closed your first deal, is that correct?
That's fair. And I've got a couple small projects on the side as well. So definitely probably my best investment I've made all year.
A cold call landed a 9-figure government contract.
Start a consulting business and a high salaried position as a account executive in public sales. So you're doing both of those things.
I'm living the best of both worlds right now.
So my name is Mike Knickerbocker. I am a naval officer that's getting ready to retire. Right now, I have 3 firm clients and 2 more perspectives. I'm able to provide value across different industries because the skill set that I learned through the course and was able to apply my own experience.
GovClose came and it was a no-brainer. I wanted some secret sauce.
This has allowed me to live in Germany. It's a little hazy today, but we can do that. You see?
Oh yeah, dude, that's beautiful.
The content, the training, it's invaluable. It's written.
And Deb, what motivated you to join the GovClose certification program?
Wow. Well, I think that wanting to work with a leader in the field, someone who understands government contracting on a deep basis and has the reputation, the experience working with you and your company was a natural.
The students that graduate our program, they go on to start their own consulting firms, winning high dollar consulting clients. They go on to land high paying salaried positions as account executives with companies that sell to the government. I'm so proud of the people that have gone through our program. And if you are considering either a job or a business, and by the way, some of our students are doing both, as I did. They're running a consulting business and they'll have an account executive job. It's transforming their lives. It's bringing true wealth to them and their families. Back to the video.